Have you ever wondered why people keep disrespecting you, subtly, repeatedly, like it's nothing? Why some people get immediate reverence the moment they walk into a room, while you, despite all your kindness, feel invisible? The answer is not where most people look. It's not in your tone, your words, or how polite you are. It's hidden somewhere much deeper, beneath the layers of conditioning, in the architecture of your energy, in how the universe responds to your silence. The truth is hard to hear. People treat you the way you've unconsciously trained them to. Every time you say yes when your soul screams no, every time you explain yourself too much, stay too available, accept emotional crumbs, you teach them who you are, not consciously, energetically, spiritually. Respect is not something you ask for, it's something you embody, and once you understand this, you become impossible to ignore. You awaken a force inside you that reshapes the way the world responds to your presence. Not through violence, through vibration. In this video, you'll uncover the 8 silent laws that decide whether others will honor your presence or overlook your existence. Inspired by the strategic depth of Machiavelli and the mystical insight of Jungian psychology, we're going far beyond social tips. We're diving into spirituality, shadow work, energetic boundaries, and the psychological alchemy of respect. This is not about becoming feared. It's about becoming remembered, etched into the field as someone who cannot be dismissed. Most people are walking through life unknowingly giving away their power, their voice, their self, but not you, not anymore. By the end of this journey, you'll have in your hands the inner codes that shift your energy from tolerable to untouchable, from pleasing to magnetic, from invisible to undeniable. And before we begin, if you feel this content speaks to your soul, know this. Many who watch our videos are not yet subscribed, so if you're ready to deepen your journey, reconnect with the universe, and transform how others perceive you forever, subscribe now to Celestial Truths. You're not just joining a channel, you're entering a field of awakening. Now breathe deeply, because everything is about to change. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the desire to be liked must die, so that the truth of being respected can finally rise. The seeker walks through life trying to please, to accommodate, to appear kind, but finds only exhaustion, invisibility, and a subtle bitterness that echoes through the inner silence. Respect does not arise from being nice. It's not something you beg for with smiles or apologies. In the unseen architecture of the universe, respect is a vibration. It's earned through clarity, consistency, and the quiet force of someone who knows their own worth. Spiritually speaking, it's not your lightness that earns reverence, but the gravitational pull of your authenticity. Boundaries, when rooted in self-awareness, become sacred symbols. They're like ancient sigils etched into your energetic field, signaling that your essence is no longer available for negotiation. Those who do not stand firm dissolve into the background of others' expectations, but the one who refuses to be moved even when misunderstood becomes a presence that cannot be ignored. This is the mystic's path, stepping out of the archetype of the appeaser and into the embodiment of inner royalty. The true leader doesn't scream. They simply emanate certainty, and the universe listens. In a culture addicted to validation, clarity is power. To say no without guilt, to walk away without drama, to remain silent without needing to explain, these are spiritual acts. They declare to the cosmos, I remember who I am. And from this remembrance flows a respect that doesn't have to be demanded. It's automatic. This is the frequency of someone who is aligned, someone whose soul no longer seeks approval, but lives from spiritual truth. Respect then becomes not something you chase, but something you attract by returning to the center of your being. Visualize a mountain, unmoved by storms, indifferent to praise or blame, yet revered by all. That is the soul in its undisturbed state. People sense power in stillness, because the soul that is still is the one that has nothing left to prove. Jung called this the integration of the self, not the mask, not the persona, but the totality of who you are beneath every layer of conditioning. This integration is what gives birth to true authority, not through domination but through coherence. Coherence is magnetic, and in the mystical language of the universe, coherence is truth made visible. So, when someone dares to test your line, it's not just a moment of conflict. It's an initiation, a divine mirror reflecting how deeply you've embodied your own values. The next time it happens, breathe. Don't react. Respond from your center. That single choice is a spell. Cast into the fabric of your reality, a spell that says, I am no longer available for disrespect. And as this first veil lifts, we enter the next realm of understanding, where the power to shape how others see you lies not in how you feel, but in how consistently you respond. There's a strange paradox hidden in the fabric of the universe. The more grounded and consistent your energy, the more you are seen as powerful, untouchable even. While many chase novelty and surprise, the mystic understands that real authority emerges from rhythm, not chaos. It's in the steady drumbeat, not in the noise. The soul that becomes predictable in its values, in its responses, in the way it moves through life, radiates something ancient, like the phases of the moon or the rising of the sun. There is something profoundly spiritual about being reliable. In a world of emotional volatility, stability becomes sacred. You see, people don't fear unpredictability because it's wild. They fear it because it's unstable. And the psyche, ruled by archetypes and inner maps, craves structure. When your reactions vary with your mood, your presence becomes uncertain, and uncertainty breeds disrespect. But when your words echo your actions, and your actions reflect your principles, something magical happens. Others begin to calibrate their behavior around you, not out of fear, but out of reverence. They know who they're dealing with. And the mystical power of this predictability, it's that you no longer need to explain yourself. Your pattern becomes your presence. Think of ancient temples, not flashy, not loud, but built with symmetry and sacred geometry. Every line, every form, every repetition evokes reverence. The universe is built on patterns. Stars don't shine randomly. Trees don't grow chaotically. There is a sacred logic pulsing through all things, and when you become aligned with it, your life emanates that same structure. This is why leaders are not the loudest in the room. They are the most congruent. The soul, when it becomes coherent, becomes powerful. Jung would say this is the individuation process maturing, when your inner world and outer world begin to mirror each other in harmony. In practical terms, this means being consistent in what you reward, what you tolerate, and what you do not. If your boundaries fluctuate with your emotions, you teach people that your values are flexible. But if you respond with calm certainty, punishing disrespect, rewarding honesty, standing still, in the face of chaos, you become a force of nature. Not feared because of rage, but respected because of coherence. That coherence is not rigidity, it's clarity. And clarity is a profoundly spiritual tool in a world of blurred lines and shifting masks. So the next time someone crosses a line, ask yourself, what is the pattern I'm reinforcing? Your response is not just a reaction. It's a cosmic signal. Every choice you make teaches the universe how to treat you. Every moment of inconsistency weakens your spiritual field, but every act of alignment strengthens it. Power, then, is not domination. It's being so internally ordered that disorder bends in your presence. Let us now turn to the next sacred truth, that people are not just observing you. They are learning from you how to treat you. Every relationship you have is a reflection of the relationship you hold with yourself. This isn't just poetic, it's a law of the universe. We emit signals constantly, not through our words, but through our boundaries, our silences, and the energy we allow into our sacred space. When someone treats you with disregard, it is not merely an offense. It is often a mirror of what you've silently permitted. The mystical truth is that people don't violate your boundaries out of nowhere. They do it because at some point, your soul whispered yes when it should have thundered no. In this cosmic dance of energy, the lessons we allow become the stories others write about us. When you accept crumbs, the world believes you prefer them. When you stay quiet after being disrespected, the universe registers it as consent. Every time you forgive without discernment or overextend yourself without reciprocity, you send a silent message. My limits are flexible, my essence is negotiable, but the soul is not meant to be bargained with. It is a sacred flame, and every time you dim it to accommodate another, you drift further from the voice of your spiritual truth. To teach others how to treat you is not an act of aggression, It's an act of remembering your worth, your sacredness, your divine rhythm. Imagine yourself as a temple, ancient, mysterious, not easily entered. The more accessible you make yourself to those who do not revere your presence, the more likely you are to be desecrated. Jung spoke of the shadow, not just as the dark impulses within us, but also the parts of ourselves we abandon to be accepted, and each time we betray our truth for temporary harmony, the shadow grows louder, waiting for us to reclaim what we gave away too easily. So how do we realign? Through presence, through awareness, through courageous confrontation. Not every slight needs a war, but every breach deserves a signal. Whether it's a pause, a redirection, or a sacred distance, your response is a ritual of self-affirmation. And the more you practice this ritual, the stronger your spiritual field becomes. You begin to emit a different frequency, one that the universe recognizes and others cannot ignore. Not because you became harsh, but because you became whole. This is how you re-educate the world about your value, by embodying it relentlessly. This journey isn't about vengeance or bitterness, it's about sovereignty. When you hold your boundaries not as walls but as living extensions of your truth, you begin to magnetize a different reality, one where love deepens, respect solidifies, and your inner light is no longer filtered through fear. So now, with this revelation resting gently in the heart, we peel back the next veil. Because sometimes even those who walk in truth fall into a dangerous trap, the need to explain themselves endlessly. There is a subtle form of self-betrayal that hides behind the mask of explanation. Every time you over-explain, over-clarify, or try too hard to make others understand your motives, you unconsciously hand them your power. The universe does not operate through justification. It operates through alignment. And when your actions flow from a place of inner truth, they do not require permission or approval. The mystic knows. Those who are truly centered do not broadcast their intentions. They simply embody them. Their clarity becomes their shield, their silence, their sword. Over-justification is the echo of insecurity trying to mask itself as humility. It's the wounded inner child pleading, "Please don't misunderstand me." But the more you speak from that place, the more you dilute your essence. The world senses it. Your words become background noise, your presence loses weight. In the mystical current of spirituality, your energy speaks louder than anything you can say. The most respected souls are not those who argue for their worth, but those who embody it with quiet certainty. They do not chase understanding. They radiate self-possession. Carl Jung taught us that the psyche is a sacred landscape, where our need to be seen is often entangled with our fear of being misjudged. But the moment you stop explaining and start trusting the language of your own energy, something profound shifts. You reclaim the authority of your path. The universe stops testing your need for external validation and begins aligning circumstances to match your inner stability. This is not about arrogance, it is about anchoring, the kind of anchoring that makes you magnetic, not performative, mysterious, not confusing, revered, not doubted. In everyday life, this practice can begin in silence. When someone questions your choices, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, do I need to explain, or am I simply afraid of being misunderstood? Most of the time, the fear isn't real. It's a ghost from the past. And when you let go of that fear, you become lighter, stronger, more aligned with the natural rhythm of the universe. People begin to adjust to your calm authority. They stop expecting justifications, because your presence speaks for itself. This is the alchemy of clarity. It transforms confusion into respect. So the next time you feel the urge to explain your boundaries, your dreams, or your silence, don't. Stand still. Let your energy rise. Let your actions ripple through the field like sacred symbols being etched into space-time. In that stillness, you become untouchable, not because you're hidden, but because you've become so vibrationally clear that no distortion can reach you. And as we lift this veil, we approach the next truth in our sacred journey, that when you give too much of yourself, your value begins to fade from the eyes of others. In the sacred balance of energy, what is rare becomes revered. The universe itself teaches this through nature. Gold lies deep beneath the earth, not scattered on the surface. The most breathtaking constellations can only be seen in the darkest hours. Likewise, when your soul becomes too available, too reachable, too easily consumed, the world forgets how to honor it. There is a deep spiritual truth here. Value does not come from how much you give, but from how intentionally you offer your presence. The mystic knows, presence without discernment becomes noise. In a world addicted to immediacy, we're taught to reply quickly, to say yes often, to always be available. But this habit fractures our energy. Every time you answer too quickly, show up too often, or give without pause, you scatter the sacred fragments of yourself. You become energetically diluted, and people, whether they know it or not, begin to feel it. In the spiritual rhythm of the universe, what is constantly accessible loses its aura of mystery. And mystery is not deception, it is the veil through which reverence is born. Imagine a sacred temple where anyone could enter, any time, without cleansing, without pause. That temple would quickly lose its holiness. The same happens with your energy. Carl Jung spoke of the self as something to be protected, something that unfolds in layers. When you allow everyone to access you at all times, you are not being generous, you are abandoning your own sacred structure. In the mystical journey, space is power, silence is protection, distance is not rejection. It is a ritual of realignment with your inner truth. To restore your value in the eyes of others, you must first restore it within yourself. Begin by practicing intentional absence. Don't reply immediately. Don't be the one who always says yes. Don't join every conversation or attend every gathering. Let people feel your absence as a mirror of your importance. In Tuai, spirituality, scarcity is not manipulation. It is frequency regulation. You are tuning your energy to a higher station, one that does not play endlessly on demand. This invites others to meet you with deeper awareness, deeper respect. So the next time you feel compelled to overgive, pause and ask yourself, am I truly sharing, or am I afraid of being forgotten? The universe never forgets the soul who honors their own rhythm. In fact, the more you become aligned with your own energetic cycles, the more others begin to lean in, to listen, to long for your presence, not because you are constantly there, but because when you do arrive, you bring the essence of something sacred. And now, with your energy guarded like the rarest jewel, we enter the next layer of wisdom. How misplaced empathy can quietly erode your authority. Empathy, when guided by wisdom, is one of the most spiritual forces in the universe. It allows us to see beyond masks, to feel the soul behind the wound, to connect with the suffering that unites all human beings. But empathy, when unchecked, becomes a subtle form of self-erasure. It dissolves boundaries. It invites chaos disguised as compassion. The seeker who confuses empathy with self-sacrifice begins to lose the very essence that grants them authority. To truly lead, to truly be respected, one must learn the sacred art of discernment, of knowing when to feel and when to stand firm. In the mystical path, empathy is not submission. It is clarity of heart paired with unwavering alignment. You can understand someone's pain without accepting their poison. You can listen without absorbing. You can care without surrendering your center. But many lose themselves trying to be kind, forgetting that true kindness does not abandon truth. Jung spoke often of individuation, the process by which the self emerges in wholeness. And part of that emergence requires confronting the shadow, not only in others, but in our own desire to be loved at any cost. Authority in its spiritual form is not about dominance. It's about energetic integrity. When you allow someone's emotions to dictate your values, when you bend your boundaries to avoid their discomfort, you are no longer leading, you are following their unhealed parts. And slowly your light dims, your wisdom is questioned, your presence becomes negotiable. The universe, in its subtle language, begins to echo back confusion. Respect fades, not because you were wrong to feel, but because you forgot. To protect the vessel through which your empathy flows. So how do we heal this distortion? Through sacred separation. Not isolation, but clarity. It begins by asking, is my empathy elevating this connection or enabling dysfunction? In your daily life, you might notice this in the way you always say yes to someone who takes too much, or how you make excuses for toxic behavior under the banner of compassion. These patterns are not acts of love. They are echoes of an unhealed wound. The fear of being seen as harsh. But truth, when spoken from the soul, never wounds, it liberates. And boundaries, when rooted in love, are not walls. They are invitations for others to rise. Let your empathy be rooted in light, not guilt. Let it guide you to deeper understanding, not self-abandonment. When you hold space for others while still honoring your own limits, you become both soft and unshakable, a spiritual paradox that commands respect without ever asking for it. And so, we arrive at a deeper, revelation in our journey that love, when begged for, loses its sacred fire, that the soul who pleads to be chosen slowly vanishes in the mirror of its own longing. There's a sacred ache in every human soul, the longing to be seen, to be chosen, to be loved without condition. But when this longing turns into pleading, when it morphs into self-abandonment disguised as devotion, something breaks. Not just the heart, but the dignity of the spirit. In the grand design of the universe, love is meant to be a mirror, not a cage. The moment you begin to chase it, to negotiate your worth for scraps of affection, you step out of alignment with your own spiritual truth. And what's worse, others sense it, even if unconsciously. And what they sense, they stop respecting. To beg for love is to forget that you are love. It is to become a hollow version of yourself, performing for the hope of attention, smiling through pain, and justifying neglect as if it were normal. But there is nothing mystical about accepting less than what your soul was born for. Jung spoke of the anima and animus, the inner masculine and feminine, and how true wholeness comes when these forces are integrated. But when you seek completion in someone else, rather than within, you fall into a spiritual blindness. You hand over the key to your temple and hope someone else will guard it for you. This is not love. It is survival, masked as romance. And the cost? Your sovereignty. When you give too much, too quickly, without reflection, you rob the other person of the chance to truly value you. You become ever present, ever giving, ever apologizing, and in doing so, your essence becomes predictable, disposable. The universe, which responds to energy, begins to echo back what you radiate. Scarcity, fear, desperation, not because you're unworthy, but because you've forgotten your own divine rhythm. So how do you reclaim your sacred fire? By refusing to beg for what should be freely given. By choosing solitude over submission. By recognizing that the one who walks away from disrespect is not losing love. They are protecting space for real love to enter. In spirituality, this is the practice of remembrance. You remember your worth not through someone else's eyes, but through your connection to the deeper, eternal part of you, the self. The part that does not chase, but attracts. The part that does not beg, but blesses. The part that is already whole. When you stop chasing love and begin embodying it, people meet you differently. They sense the shift. They may not be able to name it, but they will feel it. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You have chosen yourself, and in that vibration, you become rare again, revered again, respected again. And now, we approach the final veil, where true power is not found in needing anything from the world, but in standing alone with your integrity intact. There comes a moment in the seeker's path when the desire to be seen, admired, and respected begins to dissolve. Not out of bitterness, but as a sacred surrender. You realize that the truest form of power is not having others applaud your choices. It is walking your path, regardless of who watches. This is the essence of spiritual sovereignty. When you no longer depend on the validation of the external world, you become truly unshakable. The universe bows to those who live in integrity, even when no one else is looking. Respect that is earned from others is fleeting, but self-respect, rooted in action, in alignment, in silence, that is eternal. The mystic knows it is far more powerful to be respected by your own soul than by 1,000 strangers. Jung taught that individuation is the process of becoming whole, and wholeness cannot be achieved through external mirrors. It comes when you stop negotiating your essence for social approval, when you become so connected to your inner compass that the noise of the world no longer pulls you out of alignment. This is the moment when your energy shifts from seeking to radiating. In the language of the universe, authenticity is magnetism. You may lose followers, friends, or lovers, but you gain something far more valuable, coherence with yourself. And this self, once awakened, becomes your guide. You stop chasing respect and begin embodying truth. People feel it. They may not always understand it, but they cannot deny it. It is the quiet fire in your eyes, the stillness in your decisions, the way you say nothing, and yet everything bends around your presence. This is not arrogance, it is spiritual command. When you live from this state, you don't explain your values, you don't argue your path, you don't shrink to make others comfortable, you simply become a living example of alignment, of principle, of mystery. You stand firm in your truth even when it costs you relationships, opportunities, comfort, because you know that anything that requires the death of your essence to be kept is not worth having, and the universe, in its mystical intelligence, always rewards this kind of courage, not always with applause but with peace, deep, untouchable, sacred peace. And so, we close this journey not with a conclusion, but with a transformation. You are no longer who you were when you began. Something ancient has awakened. The need to be respected is now a whisper, no longer a command, because you've become something even more powerful than respected. You've become whole. And now, the world responds to that wholeness with reverence, whether they realize it or not. Let us now return to where it all begins, with the voice of your soul, and the silence that teaches more than words ever could. And now, I want to ask you something that only your soul can answer. Which of these truths hit you the hardest? At what point did you feel something shift inside you, like a veil lifting, like a part of you finally being seen? Share your experience in the comments. Your voice matters. This space was created for seekers like you, those who want more than shallow answers, those who want to remember who they really are. If this video spoke to something deep within you, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notifications. It's the only way to make sure you don't miss what's coming next. And trust me, what's coming will awaken something ancient in you. Watch the next video on your screen now. It's a continuation of this journey, and it might reveal the exact insight your soul has been waiting for, with reverence. And truth, this is Celestial Truths,